this edition of Martha Monday. I'm Laura McFarland, and this is Cross My Heart Ministry. It is Christmas, and of course that's the time that we long to love on others in our world. Those in our neighborhood, those in our families. It seems like every person whose lives touches ours, from our kids' piano teachers and Sunday school teachers to the neighbors next door, extended friends and family, our husbands' co-workers, our co-workers, anyone we care anything about, we feel like we're supposed to love on them at Christmas. And it's wonderful to love on people at Christmas. And perhaps this is the time of the year that people are most open to being loved on. But sometimes it can be so overwhelming. It can just feel like it's too much. We make that list and it seems impossible. Maybe it's because we make the plan too elaborate or too expensive, or we overthink it. Today I want to share an idea for how you can love on others. Maybe do it in a way that is fun and fairly simple, because what says love, what communicates love better than a Christmas cookie, right? That sweet, delicious goodness. Nothing says love better. Everyone loves to have Christmas cookies. And so of course the idea that I'm going to share with you today, if you haven't already guessed, is the old-fashioned cookie exchange. I have hosted cookie exchanges for years. I think it's a fun way to have people over. If I do it early enough for the Christmas season, it sort of spurs me on to get my house decorated for Christmas. It's a way to share the baking responsibilities, take advantage of economies of scale, and then make sure you all have a variety of cookies to put on your Christmas platter. I want to share with you today the steps to take to host your own cookie exchange, in case you're not familiar with this idea. And then I'm going to wrap up by sharing one of our family's favorite cookie recipes. This year I'm going to try it with a new twist, and I'll share that as well. So the premise behind a cookie exchange is everybody bakes either 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 dozen or 10 dozen cookies. You decide how elaborate you want to make it. I recommend it either 3 dozen or 6 dozen, because a typical cookie recipe will make about 3 dozen cookies. If you want your guests to double it, then they can bring 6 dozen. So the idea is everybody that you invite will bring, let's just keep it simple and say 3 dozen cookies. If they all bring 3 dozen cookies, or even 3.5 dozen cookies, say, then they're going to go home with 3 dozen as well, but they will have a different variety. If they bring 3.5 dozen, that leaves an extra half a dozen, an extra 6 cookies for everyone to sample and taste and enjoy. So here's what you do. Step 1, you send your invitations. You invite all your neighbors, or make a phone call, or get online, or send a text message. Invite about 8 to 10 friends, neighbors, even 4 to 6 to come on whatever night you decide and bring their 3.5 dozen cookies. Now, most likely when they all arrive, they're going to bring those in some sort of a container like this that's covered. So what I recommend you do ahead of time is pull out different types of platters and maybe cookie plates or trays, and put those on your counter. I have a few here to display. This is a sweet plate that my daughter made back in 2003 when she was 6 years old. Held on to it all these years. I have a Christmas platter that goes with some Christmas dishes that I picked up inexpensively years ago. I have this beautiful, I think it came from Hallmark years ago, cookie platter, and I have a 2-tiered cookie plate. So when everyone comes, you have all your platters out to display. Maybe have some little folded index cards and a Sharpie so that they can each write the name of the cookie recipe, the type of cookie they've prepared, and their name, so everyone knows what the cookie is and who made it. You might even ask them to bring the recipe, because there might need to be some recipe swapping. But as everyone empties their container and they place those on the cookie trays, then that leaves their container empty, and after all the sampling takes place, then they can just simply go through. If they unloaded 3 dozen cookies, then they can go back and load up 3 dozen cookies. But they're going to have a variety. So the fun thing is, each person makes one type, but then they go home with such a nice variety, and it just looks like a beautiful platter to have all those different samplings and different cookies to share, or just to bless your family with. Lots of different ways to use a cookie to bless someone. If you've got some little paper plates, you can use these, cover those with some press and seal and add a little note, and you've got a nice gift to give to a neighbor, or to send to work with your husband, or to share with a friend who's blessed you. If you purchase some cookie treat bags, you could put a few cookies in here and have your kids take those to their Sunday school teacher, their one leader. Maybe even add a little tea bag if you want to make that nice. Lots of different ways, and they're endless. In fact, leave us a note below and let us know how you would use 2 or 3 Christmas cookies or a plate of Christmas cookies to bless someone. If you go ahead and stick those in your own airtight freezer-safe container, you can stash those in the freezer, and then you're ready for coffee and cookies if you decide that you want to invite another couple over. Sometimes we think, oh, we should have such and such for dinner, and planning an entire dinner just feels so overwhelming. So coffee and dessert is just fine, and when you could put out a little tray with a variety of cookies, it just feels so special. Leaving those in the freezer will maybe keep you from nibbling on them continuously, and there might even be a few cookies left when it comes time for your Christmas Day dinner, and you've got that Christmas dessert bar that you want to put out for your friends and family. Well, I hope that cookie exchange idea might be one that you could use when you have your guests over. After you unload the cookies, you can have a few disposable plates on hand. Let the ladies go through, pick up a few, have the coffee brewed ahead of time, and just sit around and enjoy tasting one another's cookies. I also encourage you to take advantage and not squander that time. Let it be inspirational. Make sure that you use that time to point them to Jesus, to bless them with the sweet love of Jesus as they're enjoying that sweet taste on their tongue. One of the devotionals that I've used and found a few favorites is this book called Christmas Stories for the Heart. It's being compiled by Alice Gray. I add the link below if you want to find this for yourself, but it's a sweet little short devotional stories, and you could read one of these. You can ask everyone to come and share their own Christmas memory from their childhood or a tradition from their family. It's a sweet way to get to know your neighbors and just spur on some lighthearted conversation. After you have that time of devotional sharing, then everyone picks up their empty container because they've unloaded their cookies. They go through and they load up their container with 3 dozen, allowing for the 5 or 6 or whatever that everyone sampled, or you broke in half for everyone to sample. But everyone should take home 3 dozen cookies of a nice variety. I hope this idea might work for you. I hope you'll consider doing it and making it happen. I wrote a blog post about this over at areasonforhomeschool.com. I'll also put the link to that below. And if you go check out that link, also included is a free download for an invitation that you can print to invite your friends or neighbors to a cookie exchange. So that would be another idea that might work for you. Well, today I'm going to start baking my own cookies. I'm just going to do a single recipe instead of doubling it to keep it simple and to share this recipe for you. This is a longtime favorite for our family called chocolate pudding cookies. You actually put pudding in the recipe, and the pudding seems to give it just a more moist sort of texture to the cookie, and we really love it. It's a chocolate cookie, and it calls for chocolate chips. But I was shopping at Aldi recently, and I saw these sea salt and caramel chips that just sounded absolutely delicious. So I'm going to sort of do a twist on an old favorite recipe. I'm going to use our chocolate pudding cookies, but instead of putting in the chocolate chips, I'm going to use the Baker's Choice from Aldi sea salt and caramel chips and see how that turns out. So I've already jumped in a little bit here. I'll also try to post the recipe below so you'll have that if you want to try my recipe at home. I've mixed together, first of all, 2 1/4 cups of flour and a teaspoon of baking soda. So my dry ingredients are set off here. I've gone ahead and softened my margarine or my butter already. It calls for 1 cup of butter, so there's 2 sticks of butter here. That's already been softened ahead of time in my microwave. And so I'm just simply going to put this into my KitchenAid mixer, and I'm going to cream together with the butter gets creamed with the sugars initially before we add the other dry ingredients. So I've got in here the cup of butter, and I've already measured out the brown sugar and the white sugar. This recipe calls for 3/4 cup of brown sugar, so that's what I've measured out here. This is also part of those Christmas dishes I found on clearance a few years ago. And 1/4 cup of white sugar. So 3/4 a cup of brown sugar, 1/4 a cup of white sugar. I put that all in there, lock down my KitchenAid mixture, and I'll start that going, and I just get that mixed together. The recipe says to cream that together first, and then after that is all creamed together, gonna let that go just a little while here. Get that going for us. After that's creamed together nicely, we're gonna add in the pudding, the vanilla, and the eggs. So we get all the wet ingredients mixed together there first. Gonna stop this just for a moment, give it a quick stir to get that all coming in together. I think it would actually do better if I had double the recipe. Sometimes it seems like it needs a lot of batter to really work well, but we're gonna do this and get going here. Actually, I think I chose the wrong handle for my mixer. I'm gonna trade this out. Nothing like live video to keep it real, ladies. I'm just like one of you, a normal person that messes up once in a while. So there we go, got the right hook on there now. I'm gonna put this on here, lock my mixer down. That's much better. Now I can see that it's mixing like it's supposed to. So I've got all of the sugars and the butter is all creamed together there now nicely. I'm gonna go ahead and add the pudding. And here again, I just use the chocolate pudding from Aldi because it's inexpensive. The recipe actually calls for chocolate fudge pudding, but I just use the regular chocolate because that's what is easy for me to find and it's a little bit more affordable. So I drop the pudding in there and let that get mixed in with the sugars. While that's getting mixed in, it says the next thing to add is the vanilla. It calls for 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Vanilla is something I really don't scrimp on. I know there's imitation vanilla out there, but go ahead and splurge for the real thing. And if it calls for a teaspoon, I usually go ahead and put in 1.5 teaspoons. I just want to have that good vanilla flavor in there. That looks like it's mixed together nicely, so I'll go ahead and add in my 2 eggs. I've already cracked those. I'm sure you know this, but you always want to crack eggs in a separate container, and that way if you get a little bit of shell in, it's much easier to fish that out if it's in a separate container than if it's already in your batter. So that looks like that's all mixed together nicely, and now it just says that I can add the flour mixture to the cream mixture. I'm gonna stop this so that I can dump all this in without making too big of a mess. We go ahead and dump in all the flour and the baking soda that's been mixed together. That all goes in there. Almost all out. There we go. I'm using today one of my favorite spoons. This is an olive tree spoon made from olive wood. My friend Kathy went to Israel to the Holy Land last year and brought that back to me. So it seems appropriate that I'm making Christmas cookies and using my Holy Land spoon to mix those up. So now I have the dry ingredients in there. I've put those with the creamed mixture. As soon as that all gets creamed together nicely, I can pull that out. You never want to put the chips in there and have them be pulverized. I keep my chips in the freezer, by the way. I like to add them to my mixture when they're frozen. It just seems like they stay together much nicer and they don't get melted too quickly when I put in my batter to bake it. So that's pretty much it. Looks like this is all mixed together well. So I'm gonna stop that. I'm gonna lift this up and it's time then to put in my chips. And again, I'm substituting from my regular recipe, which normally calls for the chocolate chips. I'm substituting the sea salt caramel chips and just gonna give that a little try. I've never seen those chips for purchase any place. You go to a gourmet cookie place and it seems like they always offer all sorts of elegant chips, but I've never seen these to purchase. So I'm going to try these and see what they're like. Here's what they look like. So we're just gonna dump these in. They smell divine. I can already just smell that caramel flavor. I'm just sure they're gonna be delicious. So it's a chocolate pudding cookie with the sea salt caramel chips in there. So I'm gonna give this a little stir. I'll put them in the oven to bake and we'll let you know how those turn out. So whether or not you decide to try my chocolate pudding cookie recipe or a Christmas cookie of your own making, I hope you'll consider baking up a batch of cookies, spreading that love of the Christmas cookie with those in your neighborhood or your community that you love dearly, and maybe consider going ahead and hosting that cookie exchange. Just be a great way. If you invite 6 friends, you'll have 6 different cookies to put on your cookie platter. So if you invite 10 friends, you'll have 10 different varieties of cookies. And if you can get them all to be all in and double or triple their batch, then there'll be that many more cookies for you to have available when you start sharing the love and sharing the sweetness of Christmas with the sweetness of a Christmas cookie. For Cross My Heart Ministry, I'm Laura McFarland. Thank you for watching. Have a blessed Christmas season as you love on those in your world. And please leave us a note below. Let us know what Christmas cookies you're making if you do decide to host a cookie exchange this year. Of course, we want to thank you for subscribing to our channel. If you do that, you automatically get a weekly email letting you know when we've uploaded a new video. It blesses us when you like, when you subscribe, and also when you leave us a note. So please consider doing that. Happy baking. Merry Christmas from all of us at Cross My Heart Ministry. Have a great week, and be sure to take time to spend time with our Lord and to love on Him during this Christmas season. In all the midst of the doing, please take a little time to just be His child and sit before Him as we savor this blessed season. Merry Christmas.